Hello, this is SJ Talks Online coming back at you with another video. If you're new to my channel, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And I also need you guys to hit the like, share my videos if you can. But if you can't, please hit that like button because that pushes up the algorithm. And hit that subscribe button. If I noticed that, like on one of my videos, the one about the 70-year-old guy, that one I got over 400 views on that video. Um, but people aren't hitting and subscribe. I don't understand it. So if you're new to my channel, if you're new to my channel, listening to this video, please do me a solid favor. Even if you're not going to watch me on a regular basis, go on and hit that subscribe button. And then if you like this video, hit the like button because I'm trying to get monetized here. I'm very, very frustrated. Been on here for a very, very long time, still not monetized. So just just please do that for me. So, I want to talk about single mothers. Um, Single mothers have to be strong. That's what I want to talk about. Um, I posted um, my Jazzy life. She's one of the three mommies on here. She's a big topic of conversation on here, but I'm not just talking about her. She's going through a heartbreak. My Jazzy life, Strong Mommy Chrissy and Liv. I watch them all the time, which I watch Strong Mommy and Chrissy. Um, Strong Mommy Chrissy and Jazz all the time. And so I follow their channels on a regular basis. But I was a single mother for many, many years myself. So I love to come on here and just uh, give my spread knowledge, you know, um, talk about the things that I learned being a single mother, talk about some of my experiences and the things that I've learned and how I endured the many, many, many years that I was a single mother. So I like to come on here and I like to come on here and give the young single mothers coming up now, I like to give them some viable advice. And, um, you know, just take whatever you can use and what you can't use, just throw it out. Whatever. That's what listening to anybody. But, so I like to think that because I was a single mother for many, many, many years, I have a lot of knowledge, you know, in that area. And I notice, like I say, um, not just my Jazzy life, but all single mothers that are enduring, like going through. I know I went through a heartbreak before too. Um, I went through heartbreak, disappointments, frustration, everything you name it. Depression, all that, all the years that I was a single mother, and you name it, I went through it. I think I mentioned in another one of my videos, being a single mother is not a flex. I'll probably link that one up to this one. And I mentioned in that video that um, I would, you know, I was in tears many times throughout the years that I was a single mother because it was rough. It was rough and it was hard. It was rough, and it's really, really, really hard when you're going through a heartbreak. When you're going through a heartbreak, you done got yourself into a relationship. You thought this was going to be a sure thing, but it turns out it fails, and the man leaves or whatever the situation is. And so you have to now you're going through this major heartbreak while you're trying to take care of your children or whatever the situation is. Your heartbreak. There's all types of um, there's different types of heartbreak, not just relationships, but just different things. This life just be lifing. Life is lifing. Frustrations, disappointments, all that, failed relationships. Just going through different things on the job and the workplace, and um, all those things, all that goes under the same umbrella. And you're going through these things and you're trying to raise your children and you try to bring up your children while you're at the same time, while you're trying to endure going through these things. Depression is a major issue for single moms. And because I was depressed a lot of times when I was raising my children. But one thing about it, as black women, we have to be very strong as black women. Black women have to be strong. Um, but but single moms have to be strong. You have to be, as single mothers, we have to be strong. We have to continue to push on and endure no matter what we're going through. It could be a heartbreak from a failed relationship. It could be issues on the job. I remember my youngest son came to me one time. I can't remember how old he was. He was a little guy. And I've always been the type of mother that, my sons, I always told my sons, it's okay for you to express yourself. Because I think it's important to let children, because when we were coming up, Gen Xers and baby boomers, we came up in a different era with different parents. And, we come up in a time where you were seen and you wasn't heard. And we really allowed to really express ourselves like, we wanted to, because parents of that era didn't believe in that. You were seen, but you was not heard. So they just didn't believe in that. They didn't believe in letting children express themselves and say what was on their mind. So I said, raising my children, I think I'm going to allow my children to express themselves and let me know what's on their mind, because that's important with kids, especially nowadays. Children are unaliving themselves because they're going through, these children coming up now, they're going through so much more than what we were through coming up. We were going through a lot of things, but these kids, it's at a whole different level. They're going through a whole lot of other stuff. So it's very, very important to allow children to speak their mind. And you want to know what's going on with them, because there's so many children that unalive themselves and the mothers didn't know what was going on, or the parents didn't know what was going on with the child. So it's very important to let your children, that could probably be another video, but it's very, very important to let your children express themselves. But I always told my sons that they can express themselves, but do it with respect. As long as you do it with respect, let me know, because I wasn't perfect and I made mistakes. I wasn't the perfect mother and I made a lot of mistakes. And so, let me know if, and they would let me know. Both of my sons would come to me and they would let me know that if I was yelling at them, and sometimes I will be yelling at them and not realizing that I'm yelling at them. So anyway, my youngest son came to me one day. He was just a little guy. I can't remember how old he was, but he said, "Mom, just because you're going through things at work doesn't mean you have to come home and take it out on me." Because he was telling me that I was yelling. And so all I could do is look at him and say, "I'm sorry, baby." All I could do is I just kind of, just the way he said it was so cute and everything. And I just looked at him. I said, "I'm sorry, baby." And so sometimes us mothers can be doing things like we be going through stuff, and you can't vent on the job, because if you do, particularly in the workplace, because it ain't no joke being a black woman or a black man in the workplace. It ain't no joke. And sometimes you can't vent at work. If you're going through something at work, you can't vent at work, because then you might be without a job. And so when you go home, sometimes you do have a tendency to take it out on your children. And sometimes you're taking it out on your children, you're not realizing that you're taking things out on your children. And my son brought that to my attention, and I was like, "I'm sorry, baby." And so after that, was trying to make sure that I was conscious of that. But mothers have to be conscious of that if they're going through things in the workplace, that to make sure that you're not coming home and taking it out on your children. So or anything that you're going through as a single mother, heartbreak or whatever the situation is, making sure that you're not taking it out on the children. You're angry, you're frustrated. Because I'm not going to lie, there were a lot of times I would come home and be upset about something that happened on the job, or whatever, or someone on the job or whatever. And sometimes you come home and you do take it out on the children. And sometimes, you don't mean to. It's not that you mean to do it, but it just, sometimes you take things out on the person that's closest to you. And sometimes that happens in marriages too, with married couples. If the man is going through something, sometimes he'll come home and take things out on his wife. Or if the wife is going through something, she'll take things out on the husband. So sometimes, and a lot of times, sometimes too, it happens in marriages too. And so single mothers have to be conscious of that and very aware that you're not taking things out on your children. Whatever it is that you're going through, you can't take it out on your kids. Because you have to remember, especially boys, because boys are so sensitive. Hit me up in the comment section if you ladies agree with me that have boys that are raising boys. Boys are sensitive. They're sensitive. Girls are mentally stronger than boys. Yes, they are. That probably can be a whole nother video. Boys are very, very, very sensitive. So a lot of times, even though both of my sons are adults, I still have to be mindful of what I'm saying to them and how I'm saying it, especially my youngest son. Of course, he doesn't mince any words now. I mean, he don't cuss at me. He know better than that. But he doesn't mince any words now, So even now, them being adults, I have to be mindful of what I'm saying to them and how I say. Sometimes my young son is on the stubborn side. He's kind of stubborn. And so a lot of times he, like I said, when boys get to be a certain age, they don't want to listen to mama. And so sometimes, when I'm trying to talk to him and say certain things, he doesn't really hear me or he's not listening. And then he'll put his little 2 cents in. And so sometimes I send my youngest son a text. I'll send him a text. And just because I know if I send him a text, he's going to read it, and we're not face to face, so he can't talk back at that time. And it's not, just letting him know, about different things. And sometimes I throw something spiritual in there. And because with my sons, I kind of have to spoon feed them, because as far as spiritually, I do. You got to give him little bits at a time, because if I throw too much spiritual information at him, he'll shut me down. And so sometimes I'll put things in like a text and talk to him through a text message when I'm trying to get a point across to him. And believe it or not, he will read it and he will listen to me. And he'll, and, I'll make sure I'll put "I love you" at the end and everything. And so just little bits here and there, do whatever works for you as a mother. Do whatever works for you. But you have to be, whatever it is that you're going through as a mother, you got to make sure that you're not taking it out on your children. And you have to be strong. And you still got to, the children didn't ask to be here, so they still got to be taken care of. They still have to be taken care of physically. You have to take care of your children physically, but not just physically and financially. Not just physically and financially, but you have to also take care of them mentally, and you have to take care of them spiritually. Now, the Bible says it's actually the father's responsibility to give their... Where is that scripture at? I have to find it. But when I find it, I'll put it in the description box. It is actually the father's responsibility to give the children spiritual instruction. But when the father is not there, that responsibility falls on you as the mother So you not only have to take care of your children financially and physically, but you also have to take care of them emotionally and spiritually as well. And so that's something to keep in mind. And it's hard to do that when mothers, as a mother, you're going through your own personal storms, or you going through your own things. You brokenhearted, like what Jazz is going through right now. She's brokenhearted. She's devastated, but she's got 5 children there, so she's still got to do what you still got to do. What you got to do for your child. You got to be there. You got to show up for your kids, not just financially and physical needs, but also their emotional needs. Oh, educational needs, emotional needs, mentally and spiritual needs. All those needs have to be met when you're raising children. So, and that you have to, when they're young in their formative years, you have to give them that nurturing. And so those are things that you have to do that as a single mother. And so sometimes you got to put whatever it is that you're going through, you got to put it aside and be there for your children. And it's hard. It's hard. I'm not going to tell you it's easy. It's not easy, because it wasn't easy when I was bringing my sons up. But it's hard. It's hard, But you have to do it. You have to do it, because at the end of the day, children didn't ask to come here. And so as mothers, we got to do what we got to do. And so many children that grow up traumatized because the mothers took out stuff that, they put. And don't burden your children with adult problems. I know I might have been guilty with that at one time or another. It's easy to do. It's very easy to do. And sometimes you, as a mother, you might do that and you might not realize that you're doing that. You may not realize that that's what you're doing. But it's very important, especially older children. If you have, if you got more than one, you got an oldest, however many you got. Particularly the oldest child. Parents have the tendency to dump a lot of things off on the oldest child and give them too many responsibilities with their younger siblings. I made that mistake at one time. Try not to do that, and don't burden them with adult problems, because always allow your children to be just that, children. Don't burden them with adult problems. Don't dump off too many adult responsibilities, because at the end of the day, if you got more than one child, those are your children. They're not your oldest child's children. They're your children, and they're your responsibility. And I made that mistake with my oldest son. I gave him a little bit too much responsibility of my youngest son, but I did it to try to keep him out of mischief. Not that I didn't have childcare. I mean, sometimes I didn't, but most of the time I did. But I was trying to keep my oldest son out of mischief. I figure if I give him a little responsibility and I, give him, let him, deal with his younger brother, then that'll keep him out of mischief. And somehow he winds up still getting into some mischief. But, and then, later on he told me, I gave him a little bit too much responsibility. If it's an emergency type situation or whatever, that's understandable. There's nothing wrong with your oldest child helping, but just make sure that you don't give them too much responsibility of the younger children. Find adequate child care for your children. Do not put all that responsibility on the oldest child, because the oldest child winds up in the cases where it's a girl. Sometimes the girl doesn't even grow up and have kids because she felt like she had to raise her siblings. That happened to a friend of mine. She had 3 boys and a daughter, and she would give her daughter always watch after her brothers. And yeah, So lots of mothers do that, especially single mothers. It's so easy to do when you're a single mom. It's so easy to do. And sometimes it was just out of sheer convenience, just was more convenient for me to leave my youngest son home as opposed to dropping him off at the daycare, you know. And so just making sure you're not giving that oldest child too much responsibilities, because you got to let your child, at the end of the day, you have to let your child be a child. And you can't be burdening them with adult responsibilities and adult problems. Because a childhood is such a short period of time in life, very short. You're adult for forever, but you're a child for a very short period of time. But those years can affect their whole entire life. Those childhood years can affect them for their whole life. So you just, as mothers, we just have to be careful. Mothers have to be careful of how you talking to your children. You gotta be careful, mindful of what you're doing, all those things. And if you're going through something, you're gonna have to put it aside, and do what you have to do with your kids. Even if you gotta fake it till you make it. You gotta fake it till you make it. There's a lot of times I had to fake it till I made it. And single mothers just have to be strong. As a single mother, you have to be strong. Not just Jazz, but all single mothers out there that is enduring things, especially black single mothers. It's rough being a black single mom, especially when the fathers are not stepping up and they're not doing what they're supposed to do. And you feel like, and sometimes if you don't have any support system, it's rough. It's rough. Because older son had two baby mamas, and they be going through stuff. They be going through stuff too. And, and I can understand them. I can understand. They be going through a lot too. And I sympathize with them a lot, but it's hard. It's really, really hard. But you, as single mothers, have to be strong. They have to be strong, because, you got to think about if you love your children, you got to be strong for your children. Even if you got to fake it until you make it, you got to be there for your children and whatever you're going through. And that's why it's so important to have a relationship with God, because if you have a relationship with God, you can pray in God and ask God to help you. There was many times that I had to call out to Jehovah God and ask for his help. And he helped me too. There's many days he helped me to endure. He helped me to endure. When I was pregnant with my youngest son, I think I cried throughout the whole pregnancy. I would get up and cry and pray every morning. And he got me through it. He got me through all those years. God got me through all those years. He got me through, and you got to call on him. You got to call on him, because, you got to call on him and ask him to help you, because he will help you. And he will help you to endure and help you to stay strong so you can be there for your children, So I don't know. It's just something that I just wanted, the message that I wanted to get out to single moms. Like I said, I was a single mother for many years. And that was something that I think I wanted to really, really drive that point home to single mothers. But you, as single mothers, you have to be strong, because your children do not ask to be here. You got to remember that. They didn't ask to be here. You and the daddy brought them here. And if dad is not there, mama got to step up and do what she got to do. If daddy ain't there like he's supposed to, it ain't right. It's not right, and it's not fair. And you might be angry about that, but you got to put all that aside and do. I was angry at my children's fathers a many a day. But you got to put all that aside. Fussed and cried and everything else. But you got to put all that aside, and you got to do what you got to do for your babies. Because they're 50% of you. Even if they don't look like you. Either one of my sons don't look like me. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. And make sure you hit that like button, because that pushes my algorithm up. And hit that notification bell so every time I do a video, you'll be notified. Help a sister out. And until the next video, you guys be blessed.